Hey, thanks for stopping by the lab. I'm Brianna. And so you think you can dance and you think you can sing, but can you Google? Ryan's got the secrets today on the lab.
Hi, welcome to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. I was all the way down the street when I heard the music and I said, I've got to get back. We've got a show to do. This is the show where we help you understand technology, computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3s, and yes, the Google.
The Google. You know what? Everyone thinks it's so simple, but there's so many hidden little secrets.
Oh, come on. Really?
Yeah.
Magic? Google magic?
Google magic.
Well, if anybody could do it, Ryan Ewell can.
That's true.
Ray Maxwell's also here. He's going to do Maxwell's Museum. Ray is so cool. I mean, he teaches us so much, but he also has amazing stuff from the history of technology. We're going to talk, is this the transatlantic cable episode? I'm really excited about this. And we're also going to talk about Googling, as I mentioned, and what else here?
And if you have a website, it could be featured on the web workshop today.
Oh, Mark Uessa is going to do a web workshop. He did such a great job last time, and I felt really bad because we kind of had to rush through it, and we didn't get to see his final version as much as I had wanted to, but he is really good.
Yeah.
So what he'll do the same thing. He's going to take an existing website, completely clean it up. By the end of the show, you're going to see an amazing thing happen.
And it could be yours. We don't know.
Well, we know, but they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
We know.
What?
Don't we know? We don't know?
Mark knows.
Somebody must know.
Yeah.
I know what you know. You know our first caller's name.
I do. His name is Bob, and
Yep.
he is from San Rafael, California.
Oh, San Rafael. Hello, Bob. Thank you, Brianna. She's from Canada. She doesn't know. Hey, Bob, how are you?
Pretty good, Leo. How are you doing?
You want to hear me pronounce Canadian names. I'm very well. And how are things in San Rafael?
They're drying out a little bit, Leo.
Good, because that's my neck of the woods. And boy, we had some storms, didn't we?
Oh, yeah. It got wet, but it's drying out. It feels good. It's nice to feel the sun on your back when you take a walk around.
It is. It's so beautiful. Well, what can I do for you?
Well, thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
And the question is concerning email. Recently, I changed from MSN to Comcast. Of course, the speed's much better now, and I'm really enjoying it. However, I no longer can save my emails on my home computer, which it's been a problem for me. I'd like to be able to have that stuff on my own computer. MSN allowed me to do that, and now they say that I can still use their software, even though I'm using Comcast as the provider, but they'll charge me about $10 a month.
Oh, you don't need to do that. Here's the good news. You don't need to do that. So you're using the Comcast webmail interface.
That's correct.
It's a web-based email interface. It's just like if you use Google Mail, Hotmail, Microsoft Live, same thing, Yahoo Mail. The web-based interfaces, they store your mail there, and you just kind of have a window into it. You go to the web. The problem is when you're not online, your mail's not there. Or if there's attachments you want, things like that, your mail's not really there. So here's the deal with that. The good news, anyway, is that Comcast does also offer a standard POP3 server. And that's what you want. A POP3 server means you download the mail from their web server. It sits on your hard drive. Generally speaking, it's deleted from the server, so you have the only copy. All you have to do is set up your email client to use Comcast POP3 server. So the settings are pretty straightforward. I looked them up at Comcast.net. They have a very useful little help file on there. What email program do you like to use?
I actually have not really explored this area. In a sense, I was kind of spoiled with MSN.
Oh, because you were using their email program. I get it. Well, let me show you the one that you probably want to use. I'm rebooting Vista right now. It's still rebooting, so I won't get into that. What I would suggest is you go to get.live.com. Are you using XP?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Get.live.com is where you want to go, and they will give you a choice of, these are all the Windows Live programs. The one you want is Windows Live Mail. This is much better than Outlook Express or even Vista Mail, the free mail programs that come with the versions of Windows, XP and Vista. They've really improved this. It's a great package. I highly recommend it. And it does allow you to download your email. It's absolutely free. When you go to get Windows Live, it'll offer you a bunch of other programs like MSN Messenger, the toolbar. Their new SkyDrive allows you to upload files, space it, blah, 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 blah. You can turn those on or off if you want them, but really all you really want is mail. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go into mail and you're going to start configuring it. And there's two things you need to know. You need to know what the POP3 server name is for Comcast, and that's mail.comcast.net.
Mail.comcast.
Yeah, and Comcast will tell you this also. Or is it mail.comcast.net or .com? Now, wait a minute. Now I have to check. Can you check, Sean, for me and see if it's mail.comcast.net or .com? I put it in the show notes. And then you want the outbound server. So the POP3 server is the inbound mail server. The outbound server, you'll want to use Comcast, and that's smtp.comcast.net. Okay, it was .net. And now there's one little weird thing that Comcast does. Not all internet service providers do this, but some do. They don't use a standard outbound mail port, which is normally 25. They like to use a different one, 587. So you'll tell Live, don't use 25, use 587. It's in the settings. It's very straightforward. You will also have to have your Comcast login, your name and password, because it'll ask for that on both the inbound and outbound mail. After that, it'll be exactly what you had with MSN Mail. In fact, Live looks a lot like MSN Mail. Your mail will download from Comcast, and it will be in your hard drive. One little caveat, it's not going to be on the web page anymore on Comcast.net. So if you want to stay there, you will have to check a box in Windows Live Mail that says do not delete mail from the server.
I see.
Otherwise it does. And, that's to save room on the server. Nowadays, hard drive space is not so expensive, so internet service providers don't seem to mind so much. But the Comcast probably has a limit. Most do. And at that point, they'll start deleting the mail anyway.
I see.
Does that all make sense?
That makes sense, and thank you very much. This really saves the day for me because I really am one of those people who really likes to save a lot of email as a research. So this is just what the doctor ordered.
I think what we're finding, and nobody expected this, that our email inbox has become, in a way, a database of information. I no longer worry about what people's addresses, contact information. I don't have to remember previous conversations. I save every piece of mail I've ever gotten. And nowadays, with programs like Live, you can search so quickly through the mailbox that it's like everything's there.
Yes.
It's a database of information. It's very handy. Well, good. I'm glad we could solve that. You're going to love this. Get.live.com. It's a much better, best application Microsoft's done for mail. Much better than Outlook Express.
Thank you.
Thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. We're going to take a break. Come back in just a little bit with Maxwell's Museum. And yes, Mark is going to dissect, chop, slice, and dice another website. Wait till you see what Ray's got for us. It's all coming up when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. I'm Leo Laporte. I can't say my own name. Mark Iwasa is here. He's the creative director of Rain City Studios. Welcome back.
Right, thank you.
Great to have you. Mark is our web workshop expert of the day. He's going to take some fabulous websites submitted by one of our viewers and chop it up.
All right. Today we're looking at WindowsXPUpdate.com.
Oh, now is this a Microsoft site?
No, it's not an official site from what I can tell.
Okay.
It seems to be enthusiasts or a fan's blog. Or a kind of tech blog, providing some applications, some resources.
Great.
And it says tips, tricks, and tweaks for Windows XP.
Now, we should say that we are not picking this at random. He sent us an email saying he wanted us to update and fix his site. Now, I have to say, it's a pretty good start. It looks like it's functional, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely had some thoughts when I saw this one. I'm thinking, first off, is the layout.
Okay.
I'm thinking that this person is not really taking advantage of the dimensions that modern monitors have. This is less than 800 pixels wide.
It's pretty narrow, you're saying.
Right. And I think
what should you design for?
What should you design for is a tough question. I'm still a fan of 800 wide, 1024. I don't get much larger than that.
Are there still people who have 800 by 600 monitors? Is that why you design that narrow?
No, it's not just that. It's because the human ability to read really wide passages of text,
Right.
it's actually very difficult to read.
Long lines
across.
are tough. Yeah.
Exactly. Just like a novel,
Right.
it's much better to have a reasonable width, and you can scan them easily.
So it's not a bad thing to design a site to be 800 pixels wide.
Depending on the audience.
Yeah, pages always are longer than 600,
Right.
but the width is what you're going to look
Absolutely.
at.
Now, for this site in particular, I thought it's about tech people.
Yeah. Right. So
People
they're going to
that
have
use-
1024 at least.
Exactly, and I think if I know techies,
More than that even.
they'll be happier that we're making use of their actual screen resolution.
right.
So that's a big thing I'll fix. Over here in the navigation, I think that what we should do is actually, this is just a name change. Update the names of these links so that they're more easily understandable. What does, at a scan, it's hard to tell exactly where you're going
Yeah, there's a
or
lot of
what you're
text
getting
there.
if
Yeah,
you go there.
yeah.
Now, people don't want to guess as to where they're going. They want to know immediately,
Right.
click, and they know they're going in the right place.
Now, in our user's defense, I have to say, he's probably not a designer. I'm not a designer. You're a professional. So, I mean, it's a hard thing for users to design their own websites when we don't have the skills to do it.
It is, absolutely. Now, my job is really a second opinion.
Yeah.
Hopefully an informed second opinion, but
Right.
it's even great to get second opinions from family or friends.
Right.
Hopefully someone impartial.
Do you focus on how it looks or on usability?
A little bit of both. I come from an art background, so my real first inspiration is trying to understand the feel of the site. What are the emotional responses that
right.
you get? That's the first thing in my mind, but while that's there, I focus on, is this site usable? Will people have an enjoyable experience?
Well, we're going to let you get to work on this site. You're going to use, you said Illustrator is one of your
Use
tools?
Illustrator. I'm gonna use just some Mac tools that are available, such as Art Director's Toolkit. That's one of my favorites. It's a great tool for picking out color palettes, testing out typefaces. Just an interim tool that I use to get my ideas going. You see, I pulled some colors from the Windows XP OS itself.
So you're going to use that as your palette.
Yeah, absolutely. You
right.
can use it to build up a palette.
We'll come back towards the end of the show, and we're going to take a look at what you've done. I want to make sure we leave time this time because you did such a beautiful job with our last site, and I know that the owner of the Windows XP Update site is going to really want to see what you've done. So get to work, Mark. You have, about half an hour.
All right.
We're going to put you to work here in just a little bit.
No problem.
But and we'll be back in a second. Coming up in a bit, we're going to talk about the Google. Ryan Ewell and the Google. But first, and Ray's got some cool stuff. Here's a close-up shot of something you might find around the lab. What the tech is that? I'll tell you what, we'll zoom out and find out when the lab continues right after this. Stay right here. What the tech is that? It's something Sean Carruthers shot around the lab. Looks like that's the accelerator pedal for an HB94 Silk Slick Sprint Pro GM tripod. Get your camera out of my face, Carruthers. Every time he fools me. That was a good one. That was that little thing I thought was the accelerator pedal was like the little friction grip there thing. Yeah. Did you get that right? Well, you're good, see? I'm not so good. Brianna's got the latest. MacGyver, what do you got for us?
I have Eric, and he's from Victoria, BC.
All right. Hello, Eric. Thank you, Brianna.
Hello, Leo.
Welcome to the show. Look at that beautiful art you have behind you.
Oh, yeah, that's my wife's doing. We appreciate the native West Coast art.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. I just love it. In fact, one of the things I like to do when I'm up here is I don't buy yet, but I like to go around and look at some of the galleries and the studios here. They're just beautiful, beautiful work.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah. Well, what can I do for you, Eric?
Well, I'm just wondering, I've been looking at several online metronomes from several sites, and I'm thinking of creating a web page where it'd be quite easy for individuals to get into reading music as it would, because most of what's on the web requires, subscriptions and costs and so on, and, I'm a kind of a free and open source kind of guy.
Good for you. Are you a music teacher by trade, or?
Well, no, I was in the past, but it's the old routine is if you're a musician, don't give up your day job. So it's basically I'm looking to put something into the community.
Wonderful. What's your instrument?
Classical guitar.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we found one. Actually, we as Warren. Warren found one. He worked hard and found a JavaScript metronome. Mm-hmm. This is, you might have seen this one. It's from the Piano with Raymond site, which is a similar idea. It's a blog that Raymond's doing on teaching people piano. And it's a very simple, it's not aesthetically pleasing, but if you, it certainly works. You can change the beats per minute. You can change the time signature. So it gets the job done.
What I'm interested in, does it do the server client request routine?
Not at all. Oh, you mean the Ajax kind of thing?
Yeah.
No, it's just, but they're, well, actually, yes, it does. Wait a minute. Let me look at this. Yes, it does, in the sense that we don't have to refresh the page to change any of these settings on here. So in that sense, yes, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't call this fancy Ajax.
It requests the audio data in loops, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it's working. Here's the beauty of it. It is open source. Raymond has posted not only the instructions on how to do it, but the full source code here.
Oh, far out.
So this would be, I would think, an excellent place to start. And if you wanted to fancy it up and, you know, put a clicking bar or something on there, it'd be easy enough to do. He's done the hard work, which is, you know,
coding the
coding. And it's not a lot of code. I mean, I think if you look at it, it's pretty straightforward. It should be easy to figure out what he's done and modify it at will. So I would say this is an excellent place to start with.
Okay, so that'll be in the show notes.
It is, but if you go to pianowithraymond.com,
right,
you'll find Raymond's free online metronome.
Here, I'll just notepad that.
Yeah. And so, you know, I mean, just, it's metronome.pianowithraymond.com, actually. Okay. So that should be pretty easy to find. He's a piano teacher, and he's put together a blog, very similar to what I would say that, you would want to do.
Yeah, well, I have free web space with my DSL.
Yeah, perfect.
That most people don't use it. And what I was thinking of doing was dedicating that to a free and open music site where basically it would be a static web page, I guess. Because so the problem is because I have that web space, it wouldn't include any processor horsepower, so the end result is you couldn't do any kind of PHP thing.
Oh yeah, but here's the beauty of this: is all done by the client, by the visitor's browser.
What I'm getting at is once the applet is loaded back into the client computer, is that
doesn't touch you.
It relies on sound samples or something.
Doesn't touch you. No, it's using. It looks like it's using MIDI, but I'm not sure exactly what it's using.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't doubt.
All the work is done. Let me look at the code. But all the work is done on the user's side. So it's done by the browser, so you don't have to worry about it at all.
Using a MIDI engine, and then
let the computer do the work. Why not?
Yeah, latency poses one of the biggest problems. The other thing I was thinking about doing was using perhaps a flash-based one, which I've seen several of them that are excellent, as far as it goes. But then when you use flash code, it's harder to, align it within what you're doing with music script.
I'm sure somebody's done a flash metronome, and it probably wouldn't be so hard, but it would also be more difficult to modify. The nice thing about this is it is open source, so you shouldn't have too much trouble. Hey, I think that's a really nice idea. When you get the site up, would you give us a holler so we can plug it on the show?
I sure will.
That's great, Eric.
The thing is about it, I want to leave it free, and it's I've got to work with some other people that have got more experience with
There's no better way to learn this than doing it. I think if there's one philosophy I'd like to communicate through this show is don't be afraid. The beauty of this stuff is you can't really break it. Try it. Work on it. It'll be frustrating at first, but it's a great challenge and great fun, and you come away from it with a whole new skill. Hey, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much. We have to run.
That's my whole philosophy with teaching music, too.
Yeah, you can't break it. Just do it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Rudy.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Now it's time to take a trip, take a little walk over to MacGyver land, because Brianna's got a tip for us.
For a little bit of a tip.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So I know that I'm not the only one have a little bit of a problem budgeting and saving money and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So just looking at online ways to manage that, and I found this website that's called Expenser.com, which is a personal finance manager, and they're like big into security and stuff. So if you're worried about anybody else accessing your information, then you can read all about it. But basically what you do is you can upload all your bank information to the website, insert all your spending, and it's also a community. So it sends you, if you add your friends, it will tell you, like, in comparison to your friends, you spend way too much on entertainment, or like your friends spend 87% of their money on going to restaurants and stuff.
Interesting.
So that's pretty cool.
I like that. So it's a social site as well.
Yeah, and it also gives you facts every time you sign in. According to tags that you've tagged your profile with. So I've put I'm a woman in my 20s and I work full time. So every time I sign in, it tells me
compare
like
that to other women in their 20s.
Exactly. So it's like you spend too much money on shopping, and I'm like, oh well, I already
Did it say that?
Yeah, sometimes it says that.
No, you don't spend too much money on shopping.
And it also like you enter all your information in for your budget, and it will tell you how much you have left and how much you've
that's
gone
a really
over.
good idea.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Expenser in true Web 2.0 form, it's missing the last vowel.
Yes.
That's how you find it. And of course you can find it at labwithleo.com. Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, no problem.
Coming up in just a little bit, to take a trip back in time to the original internet. Yes, before there was the internet, there was the transatlantic cable. We'll visit it in Maxwell's Museum when the lab continues. Stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. This is history, man. Real history. Ray Maxwell's here. Raconteur, storyteller, historian, and is also a color expert and a Photoshop wizard and a great photographer and a pilot. But we're going to talk about the raconteur historian part.
That's right.
Right now. And we want to thank Dan Gelbart for providing some of these amazing artifacts.
First thing I wanted to say is this is not from my basement. Okay. This is from the private collection of Dan Gelbart, who was one of the co-founders of Creo, which is part of Kodak now. And he's retired and still inventing things.
And an old friend, because you worked at Creo for years.
We worked together at 3 different companies.
So before there was the internet, before there was a telephone.
That's right.
There was the telegraph.
The telegraph.
And of course, if you had a telegraph, it's one thing to get across the country, but wouldn't you love to get across the ocean?
Exactly.
The transatlantic cable.
They laid this transatlantic cable, and this cable went across 2,800 miles.
Wow, look at this. Let me hold this up.
Yes.
Wow.
And
look at that.
Yeah.
And there's the copper core right in there.
Right.
So this was for telegraph signals.
This was
telegraph
telegraph
What year did
signals.
they lay this?
1858.
A long time ago. 150 years ago. This is the anniversary.
Right.
Well,
right.
the sesquicentennial.
That's correct.
So, you know, it's kind of timely because, of course, just a few months ago, the internet cable was accidentally cut in the Persian Gulf.
Right.
Similar kind of cable?
Very different. Very different. I'm going to tell you the performance of this cable. Let me just show you before I get into that.
What is this? This is neat.
This is the galvanometer that was at the end of the cable.
So this is what the cable went to?
This went to this device, and this device allowed them to read very, very, very small currents. And let me show you how it worked. It had, this is a galvanometer. It has a big magnet, a little coil here like in a meter movement, and then there was a mirror right here. And through this little window, they shone a light in, and it reflected a dot on the wall, and that dot would move on the wall. Now, you know, we get...
It's a little primitive.
We get 500 kilobaud to, you know, 10 megabits through our things today. Right. Well, they didn't know how to make transmission lines. Right. So this cable, this transmission line, it took 2 minutes to get 1 Morse character through the line.
Well, I don't understand. Why, doesn't it travel at the speed of light?
No, because they didn't understand about balancing impedance. It's the wrong impedance, and it's heavily capacitive with very low inductance.
So in other words, pushing this signal down 2,800 miles of this thing.
Big capacitor.
Took a lot.
Big filter.
A lot of juice. And it took a long time.
Yeah, it took 17 hours to send the first message. It took 2 minutes for 1 Morse character.
Wow.
Okay, Morse.
So the way you'd read the characters, you'd look at the wall?
You looked at the wall, and you watched this little dot slowly move back and forth on the wall.
Here's an amazing illustration. This is from Harper's Weekly.
Right. I've got some close-ups of this.
1865.
Let me go through the pictures on my computer.
I'd love to see this,
First of all, this is the certification. This cable, what is interesting, this cable was the remainder of the cable in the boat when it got here.
So they chopped it up and sold it.
And they chopped it up, and Tiffany's of New York sold it, and it's certified by Tiffany's.
It probably cost a pretty penny, I would imagine.
I have no idea. Now, let me show you their plan B. We have this map Now, these guys were worried about crossing 2,800 miles of water, that it might not work.
Where'd it go from? It went from Nova Scotia?
Okay, well, let's start in London here.
Okay.
Okay, and it went up into Scotland and so
forth. You have to use your
Ireland.
Pointer. We can't see your finger.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It went from London,
yeah.
okay, over into Halifax.
Halifax, okay.
That was the plan.
Yeah.
But if that didn't work, they already had an existing cable that went to Calcutta, India.
Overland, apparently.
Overland, all the way. And they had one that went all the way out into, I don't know whether that's China or
Eurasia somewhere.
Wow. And they were going to extend those two cables to a place out here in Siberia, and then come up and go across the Bering Strait and come down and terminate in New Westminster, which is about 30 kilometers from where we're shooting.
BC. I'll be danged.
Okay.
I'll be danged.
So that was Plan B.
Yeah.
Now they
it's a good thing they didn't have to do Plan B.
Right. Now they had an existing cable.
It would have taken 80 minutes to get a dot across.
They did have an existing cable that went down to New York and out to San Francisco.
So this wasn't the first cable that they'd laid?
No. This was the first through
across
water.
An ocean.
So then
through water. Wow.
Yeah. So then they had this cable that went from San Francisco up to New Westminster, and here is a picture of the waterfront in New Westminster in 1858.
So that was a long time ago.
Yes. And here was the actual Collins Overland Telegraph Station.
So they would have had one of these galvanometers there.
That's correct.
To hook up this cable to.
Now this one, if we,
you know, they really engineered things beautifully back then.
This one's actually engraved Halifax Depot.
So you know this is the one that was in Nova Scotia.
This was the
one. Show them because they could just pick that up.
Oh, there it is.
Sullivan's galvanometer.
Yeah.
Patented.
And of course, in those days, beautiful instruments were engraved.
Beautiful. I mean, this is.
I can even pull the movement out of this.
And obviously, Dan has kept it in pristine shape.
Absolutely.
Is this brass?
Yes, because this is a big magnet, so it has to be
non-conductive,
non-magnetic. And then finally, this is the big center spread.
That's what we've got right here. Yeah.
Which you've got right there, that shows the Great Eastern. Which was the ship that laid it.
And for some reason, Ben Franklin is there on the left.
Ben
I'm not
Franklin
sure what Ben had to do with
Morse,
this.
Their pictures
Samuel
were both
Morse.
there.
Did Franklin propose this? Is that why his picture's there originally?
I don't know how he was involved.
He was long gone is how he was involved. But
now,
very interesting.
Let me tell you about the people involved in this, because it is a story unto itself.
Look at this. They have an illustration. Professor Johnson reading the morning's news from Europe.
There we go.
At the time, I mean, it took several weeks for news to reach you from Europe.
Exactly.
The idea of getting the morning's news from Europe was quite amazing.
Exactly.
Of course, at one dot a time, in 2 minutes, you wouldn't have gotten much news.
Well, now let me tell you how this cable was flawed. We've already see that its data rate was exceedingly
very slow.
bad.
Yeah.
And so one of the guys had a brilliant idea on one end of the cable. He said, you know, we can make it faster if we raise the voltage. Okay, which isn't true.
Okay.
It's RC time constant. It doesn't matter what the voltage is.
Take your word for it. Okay.
Any rate, he raised the voltage, and 3 months into the life of the cable, he burned the cable out. Murphy was alive and well.
That's a lot of work for 3 months worth of dot, dash. Wow. Did they lay another cable?
Yes, in 1865.
And did they get better at designing?
Yes. Now, they got even better when a fellow came along. First of all, let me point out that there's a website about the transatlantic cable here on my computer.
Is that Wikipedia? Yeah.
And we've got the URL for this website, and it's in the show notes.
Okay.
And you can go to this website and read all about it. And but in addition, I want to tell you about the genius who figured out how to fix all this. And this guy was Oliver Heaviside.
I love the name.
Isn't that a nice name? Well, Oliver was a real character. He had scarlet fever and was nearly deaf, so he was a recluse. He dropped out of school at age 16, didn't have a lot of formal education. He simplified Maxwell's equations, which was 20 equations and 20 unknowns, into 4 equations, which we now know as Maxwell's equations.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And he figured out what was wrong with the cable. He said it's the wrong impedance, and it's too capacitive, and we need to add inductor coils along the way.
Clever.
And you would think that would slow it down, but it doesn't. It speeds it up. And so a few years later, they did all these modifications to the next cable they laid, and they ended up with 120 characters per second.
A lot better. That's a pretty big improvement.
One other quick note on this, which is a sad note in a way. By the way, Heaviside also patented the coaxial cable, a properly made one.
Great.
Okay.
So we still use that coax today.
Internet.
Yeah.
All over the
Runs
place.
on coax in many cases.
Fiber. Yeah.
So now when they tell me I'm on the heavy side, I'm going to take that as a compliment.
It's a compliment.
Okay.
This guy was brilliant.
He was brilliant.
But AT&T went to Heaviside, and he said, it's in the public domain. I didn't patent it.
Wow.
You know,
impressive.
Take a flying leap.
Yeah.
They hired another guy by the name of Pupin, P-U-P-I-N. Love these names. And he patented the thing, and they gave him $10 million for the thing, mainly to make their investors know that this thing was a really super thing.
We paid a lot for this.
It gave them a lock on long
Isn't that
lines.
funny? Because
isn't that amazing?
That's why AT&T had that monopoly in the long run on long distance.
Exactly.
Fascinating stuff, and I love the artifacts of this amazing Gilded Age, the middle of the 19th century. Ray Maxwell is online, maxwellmultimedia.com. But this stuff you can't see anywhere unless you're friends with Dan Gelbar.
That's right.
And we thank Dan so much for letting us put it on the show. What a beautiful thing. He found this in an antique store.
He found an antique store in Cloverdale, his nephew. Yeah.
Nobody paid any attention to it. They didn't realize the value of it. Thank you, Ray. Really, really cool. All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, Ryan Ewell's going to show you how to use the Google. See, he's doing it right there. He's saying, the Google, the Google. But first, a quick quiz question of the day. What's the name of the unit used to denote the size of the camera's aperture opening? You know this, Ray. Just be quiet. Is it focal length, f number, ISO, or shutter speed? We'll tell you in a little bit as the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Ray also left this behind. This is a novel written by the very famous mathematician Norbert Wiener, who was the father of cybernetics, called The Tempter. It's actually, secretly, the story of Mr. Heaviside and his invention of coaxial cable. Wiener was so upset about the fact that he didn't get any credit, he said, I'm going to write a book about this, but changed all the names so he wouldn't get sued. Wow. Ray's got a lot of old stuff. Should we get another caller on the air here?
We should. This is Armand, French or English, whichever you prefer.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, and he's from Lillooet, BC.
Okay, if he's from Lillooet, it must be Armand. Hello, Armand.
Hello, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
Thanks for calling. What can I do for you today?
Well, Leo, I want you to know that it's been great watching your show, and but there is something that occurred to me.
Yes.
You've been harping, well, maybe harping isn't the right word. You've been encouraging us all to back up your computers.
Harping is the right word. I am harping.
For sure. Well, guess what? It seems the message is getting through, and more of us are buying a little external hard drive.
Excellent.
And backing up the computer.
Very good idea.
But it occurred to me that that's all well and good if the computer fails. Then you have a copy. But what happens if you have a catastrophic failure? Fire, flood, pestilence, or whatever. Your computer is going to go down, your backup drive is going to go down, and all the stuff that you have collected is gone.
Armand, you're a genius.
So
you're absolutely right. In fact, I can tell you a true story. The great director Francis Ford Coppola thought he was a very smart guy. This very recently. He was in, I think, Brazil. And had all of his stuff on his computer, all his scripts, 20 years worth of work. But, I'm smart. He backed it up to an external hard drive. Thieves came and stole the computer and the hard drive. He lost everything.
And lo and behold, there's the rub.
There's the rub. It's not a backup if it's on site.
No, exactly.
So you need off-site backup. You're absolutely right.
So could you not share with a buddy?
Yes.
Like, I have a hard drive. My friend down the street has a hard drive.
Yes.
Could I not back up to his and he to mine?
Absolutely. And swap them.
So how can we do that?
Well, I'll be honest with you, you don't need a buddy to do this. You need 2 backup disks, right? 2 external drives. They're cheap enough now to do this. And every week, take one to work.
There you go.
There you go. And the way you back up is you just use whatever backup program of choice. I personally don't like backup software because what you get is a big blob. You don't know what it is, and you need to run the program to recover it. So I like to just make sure that the stuff is copied over. If you want to make sure everything is there, you can use a synchronizing program like Microsoft's free SyncToy Centered System Second Copy, which is what I use. And what it does is it compares the hard drive with the folders you want to back up and make sure that everything that's on the folders you want to back up is also on the hard drive. That's nice because it's efficient. It only copies new stuff. And then every week, take it to work, leave it at work, bring the one from work home. You're never more than a week out of date. There's another way to do this that's more automatic, costs money though, and that's to use online backup.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah, now you have to have high-speed internet for this to make any sense. It is a little slower, but it trickles it out. There are a number of companies that do this. Mozy is one, mozy.com. They're Mac and PC. I use this one. It's called Carbonite. It's Windows only right now. They're working on a Mac client. The idea in these programs is you just right-click the folder. You run the software, install it. You right-click the folders you want it to keep track of, and then it just runs in the background all the time. And it has to. Otherwise, it wouldn't get it uploaded. And then if you're for do-it-yourselfers, this is another one I use. It's called Jungle Disk. You see, we have our Jungle Disk right here on the desktop. This disk is actually at Amazon's world headquarters. It's on S3 storage. So when I back up stuff here, it automatically, it looks like it's on my computer. It's mounted as a disk on my computer, but in fact, it's not. So if something should happen to my computer, it would be backing it up. And you can see I'm running it on Windows as well, which is kind of cool. You can run it on all the different programs. That's a little more of a tweak. You have to be kind of a geek to do this, but I really like Jungle Disk. It's a really useful way to do this. In fact, I can say to Jungle Disk, it even has a automatic backup procedure, so it will do the backups in the background just like Mozy or Carbonite. It's just more of a do-it-yourself thing, a little bit less expensive because you only pay for storage you use. Mozy and Carbonite are very affordable, $50 a year for unlimited backup.
Sure. I have a Mac with Time Machine on it.
Time Machine's really cool, but you raise the exact right point.
Right.
It's backing up to the drive right next to the computer.
I was hoping that my little old Time Machine would not back up here, would back up there.
Yeah. Now, Apple does have .Mac.
Right.
Which can be used that way. You can create a local iDisk that automatically copies to .Mac, but it's limited to 10 gigabytes. It's not a lot of storage.
Too small.
Yeah, it's too small, I think.
Right.
So I like your idea. It's fast, it's efficient, cost per megabyte's very low. Just buy a second external drive. Give it to a friend.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, thanks so much. You're a genius!
Hey.
Great minds think alike, that's why.
Thanks a lot, Leo.
Thanks for the call. I really appreciate it, Armand.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Now, let's take a walk. Let's take a walk on the wild side. I'm taking my Norbert Wiener book with me. Isn't that cool?
That's a great looking book.
I just think it's so cool. Ray always brings so many fun, interesting things.
I'm going to be searching for that one now, too.
Yeah, no kidding. I know, it's probably hard to find. But Sean's got something interesting for us. It's a shiny.
It is shiny.
And I see it's a Zoom.
Yeah, everybody in the States is going, big deal. But you know what? This is finally coming to Canada.
Oh, you didn't have this?
No, it is now out as of spring 2008.
I'll be honest, I've never seen anyone carry a Zune anywhere, U.S. or Canada. So
yeah, so it might be a big deal anyways.
You and I are the only ones with Zunes. You know why I'll have it? Because see that word podcasts right there? Mm-hmm. It has built-in support for podcasting, which I think is really great.
Yeah, it took them a while to come around. The first generation of this product was really a disaster.
Now, this is the big one. This is the 80 gig one with a hard drive.
80 gig one. They've got a 4 gig and an 8 gig one that uses flash
That's what I have. It's
a bit more compact. Yeah. Work theoretically the same. They've got Wi-Fi built in. Mm-hmm. Create a network with other Zunes in neighborhoods. Squirt songs to each other.
I never got the point of that, but can I download music via Wi-Fi now?
You cannot do that yet. And you cannot still play the songs that you bought on the old Windows stores.
That really drives me crazy.
You can buy it from Marketplace. Still not in Canada as we speak.
Wait a minute. So the Zune Marketplace, they sell the Zune here? But they don't have the Zune Marketplace, so you can't buy any music for it?
Not online. You can play it from the other places that will sell you DRM'd MP3s.
Right.
So
and it's worth saying, if you buy copy-protected music at other stores, it won't play there. Not just iTunes, which won't play on there, it only requires an iPod, but even other Windows-based music stores, as you mentioned, you have to buy, if you're going to get copy-protected music. Now, if you buy unprotected music or make your own, it'll work fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think their goal was just get it into the Canadian marketplace.
It's a nice player.
Yeah,
if the iPod didn't exist, this would be huge.
And you know what? I think the third generation of this will be a lot better as well. There's still a few things I don't like about it. This one still occasionally reboots on me which
pros and
like.
Cons.
So there we go.
Yeah, let's look at the pros and cons here. Large screen, I like that.
It is great.
I do like the headphones it comes with.
The headphones are amazing, and they're magnetic, so you can actually loop them together, and they don't just sort of wiggle everywhere.
Yep.
And the Wi-Fi, I think, it's a really great concept. It doesn't work really sturdily, but I think it will be really great once they get that down.
The negatives?
Negatives, still no marketplace. Won't play the old songs that you bought on the old store.
Can't buy over Wi-Fi.
And you can't buy over Wi-Fi. That'll be in the next generation if they know what's good for them.
Right.
And for this one, the 80 gigabyte hard drive, it is still mechanical. So if you drop this,
don't drop it.
You could damage it.
That's true of an iPod too. Don't drop it.
Yeah.
Just don't drop it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll learn about the Google with this guy, and we're going to give you a chance to answer our quiz question. One more look at it here. What is the name of the unit used to denote the size of a camera's aperture opening? Would that be the focal length, the f-stop, the ISO, or the shutter speed? I don't know. Think about it. We'll answer it when the lab continues right after this. Welcome back. Before the break, we asked you what's the name of the unit that denotes the size of the opening in the camera lens. That would be the f-stop. So you know, like f2, f4, f16. You knew that.
Maybe.
Ryan Ewell's here. He's normally a jeweled kind of fella, but today we're going to give you a whole segment to talk about Google.
Yes, well, I use Google a lot.
You do?
I do. I think most of us here do.
I don't think there's anybody who doesn't.
I know, and
I look at those the search statistics where it says, 65% of the world uses Google. I'm thinking, what are the other 35% using? Yahoo?
I don't know, but a lot of my friends and family, they ask me questions. They think I'm a genius. I just Google.
You are the...
That's what I do. So let's get into it here. First thing about Google that I think people should really understand is using exact phrases. So for instance, if I were to search for Ryan Ewell is, it's going to come back with 3,290 pages with the words Ryan and Ewell and is.
Not necessarily all together.
Exactly. So now if I put quotes around this, so a quote at the start, a quote at the end, it's going to search for that exact phrase Ryan Ewell is. And now we have 7 results. There's actually 7 pages.
That narrowed it right down.
That narrowed it right down. Now,
it's pretty smart about names. If you just type Ryan Ewell, it generally says that's a name. I can tell because it's capitalized. It's almost as if you put the quotes in. But anything more than a name, you want to quote it.
And the reason that's important is because when I do a lot of error message searching, so if like something's not working on my computer and it has an error message, I actually put parts of the error message in quotes.
Yes.
So that you can actually find people on the internet who have written down that exact error message. And someone's answered their question. So it's really important to understand that quotes can really narrow down searches.
Yeah. That's a very good example where you're trying to find that exact error message phrase. And it can be any part of it.
Exactly.
As long as there's 6 or 7 words, there's only going to be pages that are mentioning that error message.
Exactly. And along those lines, it's really important to use unique phrases when you're Googling so that...
unique is the key.
Unique is the key. So if there's an error message that gives you some, A61924 or something, that's a very unique thing. Put that in Google and then put maybe error message after it and look for it. So that's the first thing. You got to understand quotes. The next thing is you can actually do a search. So right now, let's just search for Winfrey. Okay? We're going to search for Winfrey, and we're going to get quite a few results here. So we've got 9 million hits on Winfrey.
Right.
That's probably because of Oprah Winfrey, right? Well, what if we're not searching for Oprah Winfrey? We're searching for something else. If I put minus Oprah, what that's going to do is it's going to search for Winfrey, and then anything that has Oprah in it, it's going to take that out. So we're going to go from 9 million hits down to about, let's see here. Oh, come on, internet.
Click the search. I think it does. Your focus is wrong. Yeah.
So 350,000.
Now we got Amy Winfrey, which is what we were really looking for.
But it's really important because a lot of times, like if you're
Winfrey's fudge and chocolates, we might actually want that one.
If you're looking for like the Cars as the group, Cars is a real.
That's hard to find.
It's hard to find. But if you like minus Ford or just start minusing things from it, it can really narrow down your search. So you know I don't want to see results from this type of word.
Very useful for searching for something that's a popular word in another context.
There you go.
Yeah.
So those two things are honestly about as much as I would say for now. Just if you understand those two things, you're good. Now, the next thing is if you want to get to your results, I want to tell people sponsored links. Okay, I've been searching probably hundreds of thousands of times.
That's those things on the right and the top.
On the top. I don't think I can ever remember once clicking on a sponsored link. Now, that's my personal preference. I honestly don't even see the sponsored links. Because people have to understand these companies or businesses are paying to have those results at the top.
So let's get that clear. So when it's in that orange at the top,
this area
or
right
down
here,
the side, it even says sponsored links in those boxes.
Sponsored links.
Those are ads. They're not search results.
Exactly.
They're ads where the people paid to be on the page where you get search results for a particular topic.
That's not very democratic. If Google is about who has the most links to their
page, they got to make some money.
They do.
Oh, come on.
But I'm telling you, if you start looking through those sponsored sites, you might not find what you're looking for. You probably won't. So I would say avoid the sponsored ads if you can, you know, or beware if you're going to go there.
Well, if you're searching for a camera, and you see the sponsored links have a camera store with a good price, there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it, but for what I do,
you're a commie.
I don't like the sponsored links.
No, I know what you mean.
Okay,
I know what you mean.
Now this is a good tip that I like, is that even with all these tips, there's always so many search results, right? So right now, if I try to search for, let's say, a really dangerous search here, let's go software serial crack. That's going to give us a lot of websites.
You don't want that. Don't go to those sites. That's a way to get viruses and spyware.
Now you'll see I'm using a program called McAfee Site Advisor, and you see there's like a exclamation mark, a big X.
Oh yeah, I was wondering
here.
what that was. That's not from Google.
That's not from Google. That's a free file I've shown before called McAfee Site Advisor, and it's just a quick visual cue.
And you see all those X's?
The X's.
Don't go
what
there.
They've done is they've gone there. They've seen pop-ups. They've seen maybe dangerous downloads. So if you use McAfee Site Advisor, it's a visual way in your search results to kind of make sure you're not clicking.
Now, will you do me a favor and put all of these on the website?
Absolutely.
So we can, because I know this went a little quickly, but just those things alone that you just saw, and you even got some more we're going to put on the website, will transform your ability to find anything you want right away on the internet. Labwithleo.com. Yule's Google Tips.
It's going to actually be a segment. It's not a Yule's Jule. We're going to put this in the show.
Yule's Google Tips.
In the episode.
Now, coming up, how's our web workshop going? Mark will show us how he's transformed his site right after this. Stay here. Welcome back to the lab. So Mark has been working very hard. Mark Yuasa is the creative director at Rain City Studios. We gave him a task. He visited a site one of our viewers sent in, windowsxpupdate.com.
Windows-xp-update.com.
Okay, and there it is. Yeah. Now that's the original.
That's right.
And now Mark is a real pro. So within you took like 45 minutes to do this. He's totally fixed up this site. Let's see what you've done and why.
All right. Here's the review.
Oh man! Now you really like these gradients, don't you?
I do.
Colors that kind of go from dark to light.
Yeah, it's a way of giving a little bit of depth to websites because generally a lot of websites are quite flat.
If you compare the two, that really. It did. It gave it depth. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Right, and used in with a bit of thought, can be really nice.
Show us what else you did. You shrunk the logo a little bit, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, what I did actually was the logo was nowhere in the masthead or anything consistent. It's actually only here in the page content on the site. Now what I did was So
you want it to be on every page?
Yeah, I wanted it in the masthead so there's a constant brand. And if I was spending a lot of time with the logo, I would have tweaked those more. But basically my whole...
Well, you turned it a little bit, which I think just by itself helped a lot.
Well, it makes it more dynamic because it's on an angle, and that's an old 2D design trick. Right, exactly. My whole theory with this site design was make it look like Windows XP, as in let people know immediately what they're going to get.
Yeah, and you did it. When you look at it, that's a Windows. This is all about Windows XP.
Right. It's because I pulled some colors, I pulled some imagery.
You used that palette tool to find the Windows XP palettes. We showed you that at the beginning.
Yeah, I used Art Director's Toolkit, and I can show you a little demo of how that works. So you go to a site that has, here I researched about the Windows XP interface. So here's a bunch of examples. I pull up Art Director's Toolkit. Let me just quickly reset it. Grab this color I like.
So you're just taking parts of the interface.
Yeah, grab this color
adding it to your palette.
Exactly, and you apply that to your design.
Look at what a nice design you did. Hey, we're out of time. Mark is the best. RainCityStudios.com. Man, I wish I could get my site redesigned by you, Mark. I'm going to have to call you. If you want to be on the show, just go to our website, labwithleo.com. We're so glad you were here. Hope you come back soon. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.